What is up, everybody? So I'm sitting up here in Lake Havasu, Arizona. I am not gonna make it home on time. It is the 4th of July today, so happy 4th of July to everyone. Hope everyone's having a good, safe, fun time. But this video right here is going to cover recaps. I've had a few of my former students and a couple of other people that I talked to, other drivers, need an explanation on recaps. And I am going to do the best to explain this in the easiest way possible that I can, because I've seen a lot of videos out there that do nothing more than overly complicate a situation that does not need to be overly complicated. So, you have a 70-hour work week, so get yourself a pen and a piece of paper to write this down. It'll probably help you. Recaps are not that difficult, and they're also not for everyone. It's a situation-dependent type deal. And whether or not you should run recaps is honestly up to you and how long you intend to stay out. So you got to do that math. I can't tell you how to do that math. It's completely up to you. But what you do is you have 70 hours you are allowed to work. And you know you have a 14-hour clock for the day. And on that 14-hour clock for the day, you are allowed to drive 11 hours of it. Well, if you take that and you cross it with your 8-day work week that you are allowed to work on those 70 hours, none of it lines up. None of it adds up. You cannot work 14 hours a day, driving 11 of that for 8 days a week. It doesn't work out. The math is not there if you max those hours out every single day. And that's where your 34-hour reset comes in. And I think a lot of the time what happens is people get confused with all these different numbers and stuff popping up. And there's really nothing to be confused about. You've got to look at it like this. On duty and driving are essentially the same thing, except for one of them is sitting still, running around, strapping stuff, unloading stuff, whatever it might be, and the other one is physically driving down the road. But they're both duty hours. That's the way it needs to be viewed. And you have 70 duty hours for your 8 days maximum. Now, the way you need to do this is take 8 days. You have 8 days to work these 70 hours. Just take 70 and divide it by 8, and that's your magic number. That's the maximum amount of hours being driving, fueling, unloading, whatever on-duty time, pre-trip, all that stuff. That is your maximum amount of hours. And I do believe, if I remember correctly when I did this math, that 8 days with 70 hours, you come out with 8.5 hours per day. Now, that does not mean that you need to do 8.5 hours per day every day. You could have a 9-hour day and then do an 8-hour day. And then the next day, after the 8-hour day, you could run an 8.5-hour day and then an 8.5-hour day the next. Whatever you do, you cannot go over 70 hours in 8 days if you're trying to run recaps, because your recaps do not start until day 9. On day 9, you will get back what you ran on day 1. It's not hard. It's not that hard. Most people, to break it down and make it simple, will go off to 8.5 hours per day. And again, that is your pre-trip, your fueling, your whatever you're going to do on duty, and then your drive time as well. Now, I will tell you from experience, because I just did this, just because I thought I was going to make my work week easier by going out and driving slow to California and doing 8.5-hour days, or roundabout there. And my first day ended up being 9 hours and some change. So, and the next day was some 9 hours and some change. and the day after that I ran 10 hours, and then I started stepping it down, 8, 7, 6, whatever, coming home. And it didn't affect me nothing. But I had an appointment I needed to be home for this weekend, actually tomorrow, and I am sitting in Arizona running recaps, and it backfired on me because I did not set them up properly coming out to California the first time, where I should have been running heavy hour days coming out and then tail it off at the end even more so. So in my situation, recaps do not benefit me because I have a dedicated route and I just didn't want to stop moving. So I went right back to the yard, grabbed a load, and I set myself up and took right back off. And then my recaps didn't start until 2 days into the trip coming back out, so I kind of screwed myself over. But all you need to know is that you have 70 hours for 8 days, and you do the math. If you want to run a 9-hour day today, you can run an 8-hour day tomorrow. If you want to run an 11-hour day today, you have to do your math and figure out whatever you can run. You have 70 hours for 8 days. Do your math. As long as you do not go over that 70 hours in 8 days, you can run recaps come day 9. If you're over that or at that mark, you can't go over it without a violation. But if you're at that mark, you are not going to be able to run it. So you really, in theory, can only run 69 hours and 59 minutes in order to get your recaps back and get them back that way, the right way. And you have to set them up according to how you can travel. Some companies have daily mileage minimums and maximums, and you have to calculate that in. I personally do not. I am a contract driver. I drive what the hell I want to drive when I want to drive it, as long as I'm not breaking the law and doing anything kind of crazy. My people in the office don't even talk to me. I don't have to deal with no one. Occasionally they'll call me and ask me what's going on, but that's about it. So for your recaps, you just take it. You have 70 hours divided by 8 days. That's the maximum you can run. Keep an eye on that every single day. If you run a little longer one day, shorten it up a different day. It doesn't have to be the next day. You can shorten it up any day you want in there, but make sure it's fitting your schedule, because when those recaps come back around and on your day 9 you're really running your day 1, and say you ran 10 hours on day 1, but you needed 10 and a half when you came back around, you shorted yourself. So you really kind of got to know in advance, where a lot of people that just want to continuously move and have a dedicated schedule, like, certain owner operators, they just know where they're going, when they're going to get there, got all their times figured out, they can get away with it. Certain company drivers can get away with it. Recaps are not necessarily for everyone. Recaps are not a necessity for everyone. Like I said, for me, my trips that I make are set perfectly where I can run out to California from Missouri, and I can run hard out and run hard back. That's just the way I like to drive. I mean, it does not bother me one bit. I love to drive hard. It's great. And I can come back and do a 34-hour reset and still have on the clock, I'll still have like 18 hours or so on the clock and do a 34-hour reset, because that's the way my plan is designed. That's the way my company operates, and I can get away with it. So yeah, I'm burning up 18 hours, but at the same time, I'm resetting, and I can get a load as soon as I'm done doing that and have a fresh clock going every time. So for me and my recap experiment doing this, it's not beneficial to me whatsoever at all. And to some people it may be, to other people it's not. It's really, honestly, situational dependent. I'm not trying to drag this out here, but a lot of people that don't understand the recaps, it's not that hard. you have a schedule you have to run. If you're trying to run recaps, you have to work your 70 hours in your 8-hour day. It's that simple. And on day 9 is when your recaps will start. So sit down with a pen and a paper, figure out what your hours are going to be. But as a basis to get started, it's 8.5 hours per day that you can run, and you adjust positive or negative each single day to do that. Just make sure you do not screw yourself over and set yourself up the wrong way. So, with all that said, if you have any questions, I don't know what you would have a question about after that explanation, but if you do, you can, comment it down in the box below. And also, one other thing, I will add one other thing. Say that on your recap days that you don't run all your recap hours, you do gain those back. You will get that back added to your next day. So if you came back on day 9 and had 10 hours to run, and you only ran 8 of those 10 hours, and the next day you were getting 8 hours back, and you had that other 2 hours additional from the day before that you didn't run, you will get that back, and you will have 10 hours to run the very next day. So you're not going to lose it, you'll get it back, and you will be able to run it the next day. But, again, you have to make sure that you're planning and making sure you're on target, because when it comes to recaps, you run out of hours, guess what? You can shut down, hit that button, boom, let that 10-hour clock start cycling to get you built back up. You're not getting no hours until after midnight. You will sit until the next day. Wherever your home base is out of, you'll be sitting till the midnight of that day in order to regain any hours. Is how that works. With that 10-hour clock don't mean a friggin' thing. It will be midnight when those hours reset and come back around. Whereas if you're running a fresh clock, when that 10-hour clock is up, boom, you better be ready to rock and roll. So with that said, again, if you got any questions or anything like that, feel free to comment down below. Answer it as best as I can. Everyone have a happy 4th of July. Be safe and stay tuned. I'll stay in touch with you. Everybody have a great night.